Microsoft ceases support for Windows XP. Chinese and U.S. defense chiefs face off over territorial disputes. No more signals picked up by researchers of the missing Malaysian airline plane.
Good evening and welcome. If your computer runs a Windows XP operating system, then starting tomorrow, you will no longer be able to update your system with Microsoft. That's because Microsoft is retiring its support for Windows XP, which was introduced 12 years ago. Millions of XP users will be exposed to security risks from hackers, including more than 5,000 computers currently used by the SAR government. Rachel Leung has more.
Microsoft will end its support for the popular Windows XP operating system from tomorrow, Hong Kong time. The computer trade estimates that up to a quarter of computer users worldwide still use the XP system. At this shop, for example, installing XP on your computer will cost $6,000, more expensive than some newer operating systems. The salesman explains that customers choose XP often because of its stability. But from tomorrow, users will no longer be able to update the security features of Windows XP through Microsoft. Charles Mock, the information technology sector legislator, explains that hackers can gain access to the entire computer system by exploiting a low-security computer as a weak link. A spokesman for the Office of the Government Chief Information Officer says about 5,000 government computers still use the XP system. Individual departments were told last year to upgrade their software and enhance their security. Microsoft estimates that about 1.4 million computers in Hong Kong are using the XP operating system.
Basically, they will expose themselves to security risk because XP is actually 12 years product. The threat landscape at 12 years are actually totally different from now. So it's not a safe platform to run on, and they will expose themselves to a lot of maybe attack.
Since 2001, Microsoft has launched a number of new Windows operating systems. But XP has been more popular than initially expected, and computers have also lasted longer than initially thought.
Analysts say if your PC is more than 5 years old, the chances are that it's running XP. Now, it will still run after tomorrow. It's just that you can't get the security updates or get any technical support from Microsoft.
So we highly recommend people to upgrade their software to the latest operating system. The answer is actually quite simple. It's try to update their operating system to the latest operating system.
Rachel Leung, TVB News.
It's now understood that lawmakers visiting Shanghai this weekend will hold talks with top central government officials on political reform on Sunday afternoon. But as Rani Samtani reports, there's still no word yet on whether a separate meeting between Pan-Democrats and Beijing officials will take place.
Pan-Democrats have been seeking a separate meeting on political reform in their upcoming Shanghai visit. While that's still not confirmed yet, the chief executive again stressed the trip represents a good opportunity for the exchange of views.
I think the key thing is to grab all the opportunities, and this is the first opportunity since the establishment of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region for all members of Legislative Council to meet the Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. I'm sure it will pave a good way for LegCo and the central authorities continue useful and constructive dialogue.
Leung will head to Hainan tomorrow to attend the annual Boao Forum for Asia before joining the LegCo delegation in Shanghai. LegCo President Zhang Yoxing said today he was still trying to arrange a separate meeting for the Pan-Democrats. He urged legislators taking part in the trip to respect their hosts while on the mainland. It's understood that 56 lawmakers will leave for Shanghai from Friday evening in 2 groups. Some of them will only arrive the next day. The delegation will spend Saturday and Sunday morning attending seminars and learning about the development of the Shanghai Free Trade Zone. And it's believed a half-day meeting on political reform will be held on Sunday afternoon. The lawmakers will return to Hong Kong that evening. They'll receive a more detailed itinerary from the LegCo Secretariat tomorrow. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
Debate rages over calls to introduce national security legislation here. As Jenny Lam reports, some say extending the mainland's national security law to cover Hong Kong won't work.
What is the legal basis for mainland authorities to restore social order in Hong Kong should the Occupy Central movement prove to be disruptive? Chairman of the Basic Law Institute, Alan Hu, said the proposed campaign has sparked Beijing's concern. So there's the need for Article 23 national security legislation to define when a state of emergency should be declared. There has to be a game plan. People often fool themselves into thinking it won't happen. National security legislation would help clarify the issue, he says. But lawmaker Regina Ip, a former Secretary for Security, questioned the introduction of a national security law here as proposed by some mainland legal experts. According to Article 18 of the Basic Law, the National People's Congress Standing Committee has the right to decide whether Hong Kong is in a state of emergency. But before that happens, adding the mainland's national security law to Annex 3 of the mini-constitution simply won't work. She explains that matters of national security are highly sensitive, and any such legislation needs to fit into Hong Kong's common law system. So that's why the SAR has been told to come up with its own version of national security legislation. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
The defense chiefs of China and the U.S. faced off today over Beijing's escalating territorial disputes in the region. Defense Minister Chang Wan-chuan and U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel met today for a round of talks in Beijing. Hagel said China doesn't have the right to unilaterally establish an air defense zone over disputed islands, such as those known as the Diaoyus by China and the Senkakus by Japan. He said America will defend Japan in a dispute with China. Chung responded saying China won't take the initiative to stir up trouble with Japan, but is ready to use its military to safeguard its territory. In a less confrontational episode yesterday, Hagel took a 2-hour tour of China's first aircraft carrier. It's seen as an opening by Beijing to view a potent symbol of its military might.
An Australian ship that picked up underwater sounds consistent with the pings from an aircraft's black boxes yesterday has been unable to detect any further signals today. But as this is the most promising lead to find the missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, searchers are in a race against time to confirm the breakthrough. Sonia Otero reports.
The two audible signals detected yesterday, with the use of a U.S. Navy pinger locator, one heard for 2 hours and another for 13 minutes, have given those invested in the search great hope.
And basically, that's the best lead that we have.
It is the needle in the haystack that we're looking for.
But today was a different story.
There have been no further contacts with any transmission.
Because black box batteries are designed to last 30 days, it stands to reason why those pinging sounds have fallen silent. Given the sounds were heard where experts mathematically determined the Malaysian Airlines plane went down, that's where searchers are intensely scouring the ocean.
We assess that that's about where the aircraft would have run out of fuel.
The Chinese also picked up 2 sets of audible signals last Saturday, but given the distance between the 2 detections, experts say it's unlikely they are the same signals. So next on this search agenda is sending the U.S. Navy's unmanned Bluefin 21 submarine to map and photograph the ocean floor. Should any of the pictures resemble plane wreckage, a submersible robot with claws will be deployed to retrieve the black boxes. The entire process could take a month or longer.
It will take many, many, many days because it's very slow, very painstaking work to scour the ocean floor.
This is why families of the missing aren't getting their hopes up yet. Without a single piece of evidence that the plane crashed, many at a vigil in Kuala Lumpur are staying positive.
But for me, I still have that little hope that a miracle may happen.
Many choose to believe their loved ones are still alive. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
Ukrainian police have detained 70 people who were occupying a government building in the east of the country. The government calls the police action an anti-terrorist operation aimed at separatists. But unrest continues to roil the region amid growing accusations that Moscow is orchestrating the crisis. Police moved in on the few dozen pro-Russian demonstrators in Kharkiv overnight after they had seized the regional government building. Protesters had earlier set tires and plastic barriers on fire, and demonstrations are continuing. Armed protesters are also holding out at official buildings in Luhansk and in Donetsk, home base of deposed Moscow-backed President Viktor Yanukovych. More than 100 pro-Russian activists have seized the Chamber of Regional Assembly. An unidentified man read out a proclamation for an independent state of Donetsk. The demonstrators are demanding referendums to decide on joining Russia, like the one that preceded Moscow's annexation of Crimea. Ukrainian presidential candidate Yulia Tymoshenko visited Donetsk, where she echoed in Russian Kiev's official position that the demonstrations are part of a Russian-led plan to justify invasion and dismember the country. Meanwhile, the White House is warning Russian President Vladimir Putin against moving overtly or covertly into eastern Ukraine.
And there is strong evidence suggesting some of these demonstrators were paid and were not local residents.
The Kremlin denies any role in destabilizing the region. It argues the way to resolve the crisis is through constitutional reform to give Ukraine's regions more powers. In the meantime, more meetings are in the works.
The ministers also discussed convening direct talks within the next 10 days between Ukraine, Russia, the United States, and the EU to try to de-escalate the tensions.
But Washington is also looking beyond discussions. The U.S. will soon deploy F-16 fighter jets to Romania as part of planned joint exercises. Last month, a guided missile destroyer conducted naval exercises with Romania and Bulgaria in the Black Sea, not far from Crimea, in a reminder of Washington's military reach. Elsewhere, the main separatist party in the Canadian province of Quebec has suffered a crushing defeat in a provincial election. The loss is a major setback for the cause of independence in the mainly French-speaking region. The Liberals, who are staunch supporters of Canadian unity, captured more than 70 of the National Assembly's 125 seats. They will now form a majority government under leader Philippe Couillard. Quebec Premier Pauline Marois called the snap elections last month in a bid to secure a majority government, but the campaign stirred up speculation that a Parti Québécois majority would ultimately lead to another referendum on independence from Canada. Marois, who lost her own district seat, has announced she will step down as party leader. Still ahead, Rwandans mark the 20th anniversary of a 100-day genocide. Ariana meets local lawyers to help with evidence in her abuse case, and a substantial decrease in the amount of shark fin imports.
They can be amusing. I think she just grabbed the camera and she's chewing on it, man. You got bear insurance on this thing? Or dangerous. He's a third bigger than the largest bear I've ever seen. Holy smokes, I think he's gonna kill that bear. Tonight, Great Bear Stakeout on Pearl Spectacular.
頭髮夠 volume， 令人更型。Salon Pro 一撳就染得，唔單止冇味，染過嘅頭髮會變得堅韌，唔易斷。Salon Pro One Push Cream 染髮變護髮，頭髮夠 volume 更型。
Why this watch? This watch has seen triumphs at Augusta, and past masters roll back the years. It's witnessed victory under pressure and celebrations worth the wait. It's seen players become legends and champions born. It doesn't just tell time, it tells